All right, so for context, what this is going to be kind of an introduction into advanced race mechanics, and we're going to cover like general gameplay mechanics as well, and teamfighting mechanics and stuff like that, but mostly for Graves. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to be in call with Josh R here, and we're going to kind of drill all the Graves combos and kind of go over them and stuff like that. All right, are you watching my stream?
Yep, I have your stream open as well,
All right.
and then I think mine's up also.
Yep, like I said, awesome. See everything
Turn
set
that.
up perfectly, awesome. Okay, so do you have
I,
any like immediate questions right now to start with?
yeah. So I mean, Graves basically has two unlocked animation states, right? Like, there's the one where you're reloading,
Hmm.
and you can do like that, and then there's the one where you have a full clip, right? So stuff like that.
Yep.
Um, how do you? So typically, if I'm like positioned like this or something, right, and I want to cue the wall, I'll do like auto QE like that. Is that how you would normally do that?
That is the way to do the mechanic, yes. It's kind of a niche one. It's a really niche one. It's a difficult one as well. I'm gonna explain it a bit better actually, I think. I'm just gonna go over all of the kind of the basics with the mechanics first, and now kind of they function and all of the versions of them. But you have the idea already, so that's great.
Okay,
Turn on
cool.
my sound. My sound is really
I guess my
annoying.
question is like, so I watched your video, right? And I was aware of some of those mechanics before,
Hmm.
but my question is more like, what's actually practical? Because like,
Yep.
I know that the QE thing is pretty niche, and I can actually do it, and I've done it to people, but at the same time, it's a little finicky because like you have to be standing like right on their head so that you E over your cursor,
Hmm.
right? Otherwise, it does not what you want it to do. Um,
Yeah. So you're talking about the AAQE.
yeah. So if you AAQE and you're trying to like reverse it through them, oh, how do you
Uh,
redirect it like that? Like the
okay, so again, we're gonna start with the basic. I'm just gonna go for kind of a monologue here, and then we're gonna kind of cover all the questions. That's kind of the idea. This is gonna probably be uploaded on the Saltu website as well, so I'm trying to get it to kind of be as clear as possible for the people as well.
cool.
Okay, so let's start with the beginning. So normally, Craves EQ, there's a delay between you doing casting your Q after your E, right? But then you have these things called what I call unlocked animation states. It's kind of like a fighting stance in like a fighting game. Like you enter the stance and then you can do stuff you normally wouldn't be able to do. So how it applies to Craves is you have these stances where you can kind of animation cancel your QE. Because right now EQ, there's an animation, like he stutters. It's not immediate. But when you go into unlocked animations, it's immediate. So it's going to make your craves faster. It's going to make you able to do stuff you normally wouldn't be able to do and stuff like that, which we're going to cover like a bit later on, right? But yeah, so for the starters, the unlocked animation states. The first one is when he's reloading, the reload animation starts. This is when you can do EQ. EQ, and it's going to cancel the animation and keep running after I do my EQ, right? The other one is when I have two full bullets, I can do AAQE. So instead of EQ, I cannot do EQ anymore. I can only do QE, and I can do the instant Q again. And there's a lot of fancy stuff you can do with this. We're gonna cover kind of the actually useful ones in a bit. But basically, the standard idea here is also watch out to get AFK warning. So what you can do in practice tool, you can actually type in pause, so you're not gonna get it if you're kind of waiting for me here. Slash pause.
Oh, slash box. There we go.
And then the third one is when we arrive to 0 bullets, and that's basically the same as with the reload animation, because when you reach 0 bullets, Grace will immediately start the reload animation, and that's again when you can do stuff like all the unlock animations. Other stuff you can cancel, for example, you can also cancel your W. So W comes instant. Again, the same principle. You EW or you AWE, same idea. You can also cancel the W because normally if you do EW, again there's a small delay. With W, it's a
Yeah,
lot smaller than with Q, but it still exists, right?
yeah. You can
But
do
if you
R
do,
as well, right?
yeah,
With
also you can do, well, yeah. With ult, you can do a lot of other stuff. You can, for example, cancel the knockback. This is one of the combos I don't find that good. Uh, there's a few niche uses for it, like you can dash through people. kind of like redirect the key. Ult. Again, it's kind of difficult, and I don't think it's that useful.
Interesting.
One.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I actually use that one probably the
Yeah.
most, but
So
maybe it's not actually that useful.
yeah. So
Uh,
one really useful thing I actually do have for it is when people are intentionally hiding behind targets, right? So they do stuff like this, so I can't ult them, right? So what
mhm.
you can do then is then you can kind of you can do E ult like this, so you can kind of slide through them really fast, and then you can hit the target behind, or you can do. It's really difficult actually. I haven't actually mastered this yet, but you can kind of try to ult through them like this.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I have not done that.
Yeah, this is actually difficult. I haven't actually learned that, but that's one application you can kind of use it for. But yeah, for the useful part, the most useful one, the one I use the most, like absolutely the most, is gonna be just AA with no pellets and just EQ. So what this basically achieves for you is that you get more distance covered between you getting the Q. So that means that you are more likely to get the wall bounce, for example. Let's say here I get
Mm,
the wall bounce really fast. And this is going to make your craft feel smoother because normally if you do EQ, you're stationary. But when you
yeah,
do
you get stuck.
animation cancel stuff, you can keep moving. So Kraves is actually when he's played correctly, he's one of the sleepiest classes in the game. It's really hard to hit a Kraves
I see.
because you can constantly keep moving. But yeah, what would I talk about next? You can also unpause your game. You can kind of drill these things. Uh, hmm. Okay. Also, yeah, for general mechanics in the game, for Graves, this is a really easy trick I used to use to kind of get good at tight clicks. So what I do is I use this A. I don't use A much, like in general gameplay. I don't use it much. Maybe when I'm chasing someone, I'm kind of like, oh, can I get the A? Can I get the AA? Then I'm kind of like spamming it so I know I get it. But normally how I use A is this radius is the maximum where your cursor is going to. That's kind of the basic idea. I
Uh,
don't want my cursor to go outside of this ring in gameplay. Obviously, when you have to ult someone, then you go over there to kind of hold them, right? Or when you're moving to the camera. Those are the two things when your cursor can leave this area. And when you're clicking
I
camera, of
see.
course. But like in general gameplay, your cursor is always inside this area. Because you don't really need to cover anything other than that. And what this achieves is when you have clicks like this, when you're really tired of clicking, you're faster to turn, you're faster to react to skill shots, stuff like that, right? So it's really
Yep.
important to have close clicks. So if you ever watch my gameplay or anything like that, or if anyone ever watches like high level gameplay or anything like that, they're always gonna have really tight clicks. This is especially important for ADC players, but I think it also applies to junglers. Because people, when they play ranged classes, they kind of like they start clicking to Narnia, or even like people who don't play ranged class, they kind of click to Narnia. And so let's say for example I want to hit this guy, so I'm clicking on top of him. But then there's a fucking Elise cocoon coming from this way, so it's going to be really hard for me to actually dodge this if my cursor is already over here, right? So I need to
Mm,
track my cursor all the way here if I want to dodge this. So instead of if I want to hit this guy, I'm clicking like this. If there's a cocoon, I'm sidestepping it, right? And then I can do whatever I want, right? So tight click's really important. It's not only for Graves, but like every single class in the game because it's gonna make you so much more reactive. That's probably something Nathan has talked to a lot of people about. I feel like that's certainly something he talked to me about. But yeah, also by the way, I do have clips. I saved again where I went for a lot of animation cancels, which we can kind of talk about like the application of these combos. But yeah, so yeah, so my most used AA. Oh, sorry. All right. So my most used. No mind. My outplay is really making my game lag. Yeah. So most used combo EQ. My second most used combo. This is one I specifically use on minions a lot. So let's say for example I'm trying to dive this guy. This guy's hugging here, low HP, and there's a minion here. What I do here is I A at the minion and QE. So
oh,
this
I
is
do
the
that a lot
animation
too.
combo. Yeah, this is really good. This is
Uh,
really good.
yeah, I
So it's
use
kind of
that a lot in like mid and stuff to like bounce off the wave
yeah,
and get the
exactly.
surprise view.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really important. Like as Crepes, you basically always want something to auto attack. Even if you get like wards, you can even auto attack on wards and then you can get an animation combo. Or you can auto attack a ward and wait for the reload animation, and then you can go for the combo, right?
Yep.
But basically, as
Yeah.
Crepes, you don't
Sometimes
want to be full poets. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think sometimes in bot lane I'll also try to like bounce off the support, like if the ADC is hugging the wall,
Yep. And this is
or like
another
just
thing I
auto
love to do
support and
as
then
well.
QE. Yeah.
I hit the cromp, and when I'm ready to dive, then I use my last A, and then I'm ready to do what I
Oh,
want. Also, another
that's funny.
actually
I haven't
important.
done that before.
Okay. Also, another, I would say, pretty important Graves combo. Actually, I'm going to cover all the important Graves combos here. I'm going to show you the fastest kill combo, kind of the new combo. So the fastest one, this is a bit niche. Basically, what people have to do, they'll have to Q flash, right? So you
Yep.
get the bounce. Our flash is like really weird. Gonna kill this real quick. Okay, but the fastest flash combo actually, when you're going over walls like this. So this is specifically when you have a wall. So what you do instead of Q flash, you do ult flash. Ult flash Q. So what the wall does for you here is gonna cancel the knockback of your ult here, which is not the animation, right? So you're gonna completely get rid of the animation by doing ult. Oh, sorry. Ult flash into Q. That's the fastest combo you can achieve on Krebs, like the absolutely fastest. So this is actually, you can use this, for example, here. People are kind of coming to the Baron or whatever. You can use it here. Let's say there's people here. You can just do this. I actually missed my ult. Uh, I can
I see.
do this here, stuff like that. But the point is that
So,
you need the wall.
so
Actually,
it
this is a
can't be a
pretty
wall
useful one.
either that the wall has to be thick enough, right? That the R doesn't push you back
Yeah,
over.
yep. So for example, something like this can't be done unless it's gonna push you over the wall, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Um, what else do we have? Oh, actually, if you wanna, I don't know if you have heard the stories of the sloppy slide. Sloppy slide is kind of a combo. A certain Sammy D, who's no longer a Saltu member, but he used to be a Saltu member, and we used to play Krebs a lot. He was a Krebs main, or he kind of made every champ in the game, but he was playing a lot of Krebs. So basically, we found out the combo, which we named Sloppy Slide. It was actually not named by us, it was named by someone else who named it Sloppy Slide, so like some guy on YouTube. I can't credit him because I don't remember who it was. Basically, the Sloppy Slide combo is, actually, let me remind myself. Yeah, this is the Sloppy Slide. Okay. So it's kind of a really show offy combo you can do. So you AA, Q, ult E. That's what's gonna look like, and that's what we call a sloppy slide. If you ever hear the reference to sloppy slide, that's the combo. I don't know if it's something
I
you've
see.
heard about, but
No,
it
but
used to
I've
be a
done it.
Salto legend.
Yeah, no, I've done that one before, though I
Yeah,
didn't know it had a name.
it's not really useful. I probably like pulled this off once in a game, and not really that useful. But that's for the application for the most important ones, I would say. Someone is chasing me, I can do backslash EQ. Again, when I'm reloading, I can do it. And the way to do this is you kind of Q, and then you E over your cursor. So you have to have a really tight cursor. It's the same idea as with backwards Q in general, like AIQE. This is another one you can do as well.
Oh, yeah. So I was actually gonna ask you if you actually use that because I know that you can do that, and like I also know like theoretically you can E over your cursor like sideways or something, right? To like throw it like
Yeah,
not just backwards. Like you can actually redirect it other
yeah. I
directions.
use this a lot. Like
But oh, okay.
so basically every time I try to use Q, I'm almost every time using it with some sort of animation cancel. You can actually see that later on when I'm showing you the game, where I have clips from. But basically every time I'm looking for some sort of animation cancel because it catches people off guard so much, and it just makes you it just allows you to get kills faster. One moment where I don't usually use animation cancel is when I'm in a brush and they're just like walking into me. So that's when I start with Q instead, right? Because the Q is
Hmm.
guaranteed anyway. But if they're kind of trying to juke me and stuff like whatnot, I usually try to go for some sort of wall bounce.
Okay. So I use the QE, like the auto QE wall jam, and I use the like auto like empty clip and then EQ
Hmm.
wall jam. I'm pretty bad about using the one where it's like you auto once and then wait for your reload animation to go through and then you EQ. And I also like I can do the other ones where you slide over the cursor to redirect the Q in the practice room, but like I don't know if I have like the pointer control to actually do that in game. You know,
Ah, yeah, okay.
like, so like here, I mean, I'll unpause my screen really
Yep.
quick.
Yeah, actually, just show me, and then we
So
can
like
figure it out.
the one I think, so like I think this is kind of what you're like that sort of thing, right? Or you probably
Yep.
didn't see it, like where you do like this kind of thing. Um, and like I also like theoretically, I think you can do like something like this too, right? Like if you wanted to throw it that way or whatever.
Yep.
Um, but I have a hard time because you have to like if you don't have your cursor in like the exact right spot, like you get like this instead, right? As opposed, well, let's say I actually wanted like it's too easy to have that happen,
Yep.
right? And
Yeah.
so like is that just a practice thing or do you have like some tricks so that you don't
There's
accidentally
a
do
trick
this?
for it. Yeah, there's actually a trick for it. So, so
Okay.
let's say you're watching my stream.
Yep.
So let's say I want to bounce my key on one of these walls, right? So I do this, or I do this.
Uh-huh.
The way to do this is that you don't actually move your cursor until you E. So you only move your cursor once. So I think what you're trying to do is you're kind of trying to aim the Q and the E at the same time, kind of like this. But what you
Yeah.
do instead is you AA, Q, and then you E to the side where you want your Q to leave from. So let's go get fuck out
Okay,
of
I
here.
guess I'm not following. It's hard to do this in slow motion too, I
Yeah,
think,
okay.
because like it doesn't work if you do it
Yeah,
in slow motion.
yeah, exactly. So
Uh,
basically, yeah. So let's try it in slow motion. So I AA, and then I Q. Oh, actually, I had twice. So I AA, and I Q, and after my Q, then I use my E. So I only move my cursor once in this combo actually when I'm doing
oh,
this.
so you know what's a little weird? Discord isn't sharing your cursor. I can't see your
Oh
cursor. I can
wait,
see your clicks, but I can't see your cursor.
Share your
yeah,
screen, Amir.
yeah. I need to share my screen.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably also why I'm a little
Yeah,
confused.
yeah, that's probably confusing. Yeah. Okay, can you see my cursor now?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So AA, I do one AA, and then I Q, and then I go where I want the E, and then I E. And what's gonna look like is gonna look like kind of like this. So basically, the E is gonna leave from where you start your dash, right? So you don't actually aim the Q, you aim your E, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Is
I
that the
see.
start or the end of the E?
Okay, there's like
Where the
some
cube comes out?
geometry
Yeah,
BS going on here
yeah,
though. Like if you actually want to get the wall down, then you have to do you have
yeah, you
oh,
did it.
that's like
Perfect.
really weird though.
Yeah, it's kind of weird
That
because
that one didn't work.
yeah, the Q actually leaves at where
Oh,
you start,
that's the wrong one.
where you end your
Where you
dash.
start?
What was the question?
I wanted to know if it was at the start or the end of the E
Uh,
that the cube would come out.
kind of at the start, because you have to like place your cursor where you want E, right?
Yeah, and you need this would only work if your cursor was on top of the target, right?
Yep.
Like if you click next to it with like attack click, it would whiff.
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
It
if
would.
you misclick here, yeah, then it doesn't work because then you don't get the unlocked animations kind of thing, right? What was that the
Okay,
question?
so I guess. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yep, no. But yeah, so it's kind of difficult, but basically the way you do it is, so if you want to like kind of make it really bare bones, the way you do it is you E here and then you Q, right? That's the interaction. You E to the side and then you Q. But then instead of doing that, you actually animation cancel it and just do it faster. But you don't actually need to move your cursor except for once. And it's the same as here. So let's say I'm here, I want to Q this wall, I want to Q this guy, and I want to hit this wall with it. So what I would normally do is I would E here and Q, right? That's the same input basically. I E here and I Q. But
Right,
instead of
except this
doing
is
that,
way slower and you are locked in animations.
yeah. So instead of that, I click on this guy, A, Q, and E. And again, like I E to the side. That's the only thing you have to do basically. You A, Q, and you E to the side. But
Okay.
when you cast your Q, your cursor is still on the target, right?
So I was just messing with this, and the timing seems a little bit finicky. For like, you have to like move your mouse like right between the Q and the E, but then like you still have to do the QE pretty fast. Is that right? Or
Um,
because
I'm
you're gonna
not
like
sure.
auto, and then you're gonna Q with your cursor on the target, flick the mouse, and then E.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do. Yeah. So
I
A,
have a
Q,
question.
and E immediately. Yeah, it's really fast, so it's something you have to get used to basically in practice too. Yep.
This is a question regarding like just more general mechanics.
Yeah.
Let's say if, for example, you're running away from a pike and a pike is like holding his Q, kind of watching your movement.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes I'll panic and I'll just try to like E away to get distance. When I guess in reality, I probably should just hold my E and then reactively dodge his Q with my E. What's your
Mm.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's kind of like in moments like that, you have to kind of read the player pattern. For example, if the pike is someone who likes to hold the Q, then I kind of like try to kind of like so the most important thing in that actually, so let's say this is the pike is chasing me, I want to keep my clicks as close as possible. So it makes me a lot harder to predict, right? If you look at me right now, how would you hit Q on this guy? And then you kind of have to guess for the E, because the E animation is not instant. It's not like, I don't know who has an instant. Like it's not like Flash, right? Flash is like instant, right? But E actually has an animation, so you're not actually that fast when you use your E. But what I usually like to do is I kind of like try to just like run away, keep my tights click, and when I kind of like get enough distance, I try to kind of like off. I don't know how to say it, like off angle E. So I'm not like going directly forward, but I'm not like going directly to the sides either. So I'm still creating distance with my E.
So are you sporadically clicking while you're running away from him
Yeah,
to
I'm
just
always
make the
clicking.
movement like harder for him to predict, I guess?
Yeah, I'm always clicking like really close because it also like if nothing else, it's also gonna make it easier for you to actually dodge the skill shot based on reaction. So let's say I'm kind of going here
Yeah,
and
so
he
in
throws the Q, then I would like it would be easier for me to move my mouse from here to here instead of from here to here, right? That's the kind of
yeah,
idea with
so
close clicks.
in theory, if you're like sporadically clicking like that, like yes, you're harder to hit. You are covering less ground though, right? Than if you were to just run straight.
Yeah,
Because since
that's
you're
right.
like sidestepping and shit, you
Yeah,
so that's kind of the trade-off.
yeah, that's the trade-off. But the one thing you can do is even though you are clicking like this, like I'm not changing my direction much. Like you can see, I'm not going like this, right? Like this is bad because then there's a zigzagging. First of all, you are easy to predict, and second of
That's
all,
pretty much what I do. So how do I fix that?
you don't click so much to the sides. Instead, you kind of click to the sides, but not so much. So I'm kind of like running like I'm ready to react. If he throws the animation or if he throws the Q, then I can like E or I can like just like try to dodge it and stuff like that. I do have a clip. I think I have a clip with kind of that interaction actually. I can show it later. But
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, the AAQE. So the one thing with the AAQE, it's hard to aim. And you have probably noticed that it's hard to aim. The only thing where I can like really well aim it is in situations like this, or when I'm doing like AAQE to the wall. For example, like this. So like this. So I'm trying to hit a guy over here. This is really easy to aim because then I'm just like AAQE. Again, I move my cursor only once, basically. All of the AAQE combos only involve you moving your cursor once. So my cursor starts here with AA and QE. Really easy. Alright. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And in the backwards Q, you don't actually move your cursor at all. You keep your cursor still. But yeah, it's hard to aim. Like even like I'm throwing kind of to the side sometimes. The AAQ is hard to aim. That's kind of the trade-off. The EQ is easy to aim because you can cover the entirety of your dash before you actually cast your Q, right? Does that make
So I
sense?
guess how often do you use? So I use the AAQE just like straight ahead a lot because that's really easy.
Mhm.
How often do you actually do the redirected AAQE
Mm, I do it a lot.
versus just auto twice and then EQ them or whatever?
Like for example, in this situation, like this terrain here, it's really hard for me to get the Q, right? So here I usually look for some sort of animation cancel. I can look for the the no animation, no bullets one, or then I
Mm-hmm.
can just go for the straight up AAQE to the wall. Right, so this one. But it kind of depends. Like if I'm in a terrain where it's hard for me to find the Q bounce back, for example, this one specifically here, then I usually go for them. I can show you the game actually here. I have saved up one game. Smart played. Oh, wait, I think I need to control all. Yeah. Uh, Okay, here. So let's say there's nothing there. So for example, here I'm looking for another animation cancel. And the way I do this is with the crump. So this is kind of what I talked about earlier, right? So I hit the crump. This guy is still below HP, so I want to surprise them. He walks next to the wall. That's when my Q is to go in, right? This guy walks next to the wall. Okay, I use my A, and then I'm ready to use EQ, and he's dead. There's not much you can do about it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty smooth.
Let's see, do I have anything else to get up this guy? I do the same thing again to this guy again. Actually, don't. So the reason why I didn't go for an animation cancel here is because this guy's already next to a wall, right? I can just walk up and Q, and then I can save my E to get outside of the turret range instead, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm not using any animation combo, because I actually want to get out of the turret range. Let's see, do I have anything else? So again, I'm constantly looking for something to AA. Here they're so far away, so I have to go to full bullets. So in this kind of scenario where I'm full bullets, I have nothing to AA. Here where I usually start with my E, with my W. Because I don't need the E for the animation cancel, because I need the E to close the distance, right? So I'm probably expecting a W here. Actually, just flash this guy. Okay. That's not so cool. Let's see.
So that was just a Q flash also.
Yep, that was just a key flash. It's kind of the bread and butter combo of crabs. Again, like here, I don't need to use them because again, like people are already next to the wall. I don't need to do anything fancy, right? I can just Q and then I can save my E for whatever the all the purpose is for my E, which is usually dodging stuff, creating distance or closing distance, right?
Yep.
So again, I don't go for the combos when it's guaranteed that I'm gonna hit the Q anyway. Probably gonna see it later as well. Let's see this guy. Oh, that's horrendous. I don't want to see it. I misplayed massively there. Let's not watch it. Here again, I don't think. Yeah, here I just use my E to dash a wall. This guy's dead. That's his hair. Oh, this one is a good one. Oh no, it's not. I didn't go for an animation cancel actually. So what I usually do when people are hiding behind turrets, this is a good moment where I actually use my animation cancel. I can actually show in game. Because as every Craves player knows, Craves player knows, it's really annoying when people are hiding behind the turret, right?
Yep.
There's this hiding there, and so what I use is I use the wave. What I usually go for is kind of like dance around here, and then I go for the EQ to the side, right?
I see.
Let's see, can I max my HP?
So you'll like auto the wave twice, go for the EQ,
Yeah.
and then maybe R out of the turret range or something.
Yeah, that's something you can do if you're really low. Because that's gonna kind of like the EQ is gonna grant you access to these like this is a really tight spot for people to be in, but it's really hard for Craves to actually hit people there. Because let's say they're dancing around the turret, I'm trying to I can't because the turret is on the way, I can't really Q because they're just behind the turret. So that's when you can go for stuff like this. The other way is like they're kind of dancing around the turret here. I can also do QE like this. It's harder to hit, but it can also work.
What if there's no wave?
If there's no
Nothing to
wave,
auto.
you are not diving. Or like if you want to dive without wave, it's usually just
What
gonna
if
be
they're
ult.
low but not low enough to be R killed?
Then you would have to basically flash, or you would have to wait for the wave. Usually, I would wait for the wave, right? So this is the wave now. I'm just waiting for the wave. So how I can keep this guy under the turret? I can use my W, right? I can even use my ult if they're kind of trying to recoil, right? And then I just wait for the wave. That's what I do. And then I can go for the animation cancel. But if there's no wave and I really have to go for it fast, the enemy jungler is coming right up here. Like I'm like in a hurry. You basically the only options you have is you can suicide for the dive, or you can Q flash. I don't know what my flash is casting twice, but you can Q flash AA, Q flash AA, all stuff like that, right?
Do you have that setting turned on that's like as soon as you click a button, it'll register the next one? Like if you QE,
I don't think so.
cast the press spell upon. Yeah, that's what I was
I don't know
wondering.
what this does.
What do you think about that?
I
I'm
don't know
pretty
what
sure
this
it's like if
does.
you QE immediately, you don't have to press, like it'll just go off on its
QE.
own. Like it'll buffer the key inputs, if that makes sense, I think.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be more of a hindrance than a help?
No clue.
I don't know. Like I honestly don't really understand the function of this. I've always played with this of. I think I used to use this when I was a Katarina main in like season 7, and I was just spamming my button like rolling my head on the keyboard. But I don't actually know what it does. So I would just advise against it actually. But I don't know. I would advise against it.
Okay.
But yeah, let's go back to the clips. Let's see if there's anything else here. So here is the situation I was kind of talking about. Again, I don't need to use anything. Even if I had my E, I wouldn't use my E because again, like I can start with the Q because again, I know it's gonna hit. This guy's already running into me. I'm in the fog. It's pretty simple. But what I do next here is interesting. So here, instead of doing anything else, I'm just waiting for the reload animation, and then I'm going for the EQ because then that's gonna help me create distance and kind of catch this guy, right? So if I went for E without Q, I would get like kind of stun locked here, and I wouldn't be able to catch this Vladimir. I wouldn't be able to get the Q. Or the other thing I could do is I could just E and not cast Q. So this is kind of I think this is a pretty good example of why I think the animation cancels are really important, because I wouldn't be able to get this at least as smoothly, this kill, without the animation cancel here, right? So I'm just waiting for the E to be up. Again, I A anything. I A anything I can so I can kind of unlock my animations, right? So in this case, it was the blast cone. I'm A in this again so I can get the reload animation. Does that make sense to anyone?
Yep.
Um, I kill someone
Do
here.
you warm up before you get into a game, or do you just queue up?
What I used to do is I used to go to practice tool and just kind of like do some combos. Nowadays I don't really.
Do you ever have like cold hands in the morning though, where your clicks are fucked?
Yeah, I live in Finland, so I have that often. But not right now during the summer now. But yeah, usually I always like to warm up my fingers if my fingers are cold. But I
And you
don't.
just did that by doing the combos in practice.
I usually do it by sticking my fingers into my armpit. But you can also do that, yeah.
All right.
But here's another one of the animation combos. Again, I'm here in the fog, and I just jump this guy. Like, there's not much reaction this guy has. So the reason why these animation cannons are so important is it only doesn't make you harder to hit, it also allows you to get so much more kills in your games. Because people are always going to get caught up by stuff like this. If I was just to EW this guy, he would just go Q and I would not be able to chunk them. And the other thing is I'm looking for something to AA. Again, so I can use the unlocked animations. But the way I've kind of want people to get used to these animations is just like use them while you're clearing your camps. Because if you try to go for these constantly, you're gonna actually miss kills instead of finding more kills, right? Because you're getting used to the combo. So what I would do instead is just like use them while you are clearing, and that way you get used to them, right?
So does that hurt the clear efficiency at all?
Mm. No. Unless you miss
Okay.
it. Unless you miss your
Sure.
Q, no, it doesn't.
All right. Yeah, that's
Uh,
fair. Oh, I guess random Graves question related to clearing. Do you do the wall jams in the clear,
the
or
what?
like where you dash into the wall to get that fast throw out?
Yeah. For example, oops. For example, on my first clear, I do this. Oops. Where is it? Is it gonna reset? So yeah, first clear you can do this, and then you kind of drag it down here, and then you can do it on this wall again. I do use these, but I don't always use them. One thing I do love to use though is this when I'm decking Baron.
Mm. I actually didn't know about that one.
Yeah, this one I think this is something I learned from watching Bo last season actually. I was not using this one either, but this is a really good cancel actually. It's gonna make your clear Baron a bit faster. This one on blue.
Can you showcase how you clear wolves?
Wolves.
Yep. Wolves
I have
support.
items right now, but so basically the idea with Graves, especially during early game, is the way you clear camps is you always just hit the biggest one. So let's say, so this is usually how I clear kind of wolves. I just hit the big one, and when the small ones, so for example in normal clear, I don't usually get 2 Qs. So then I kind of spread them out like this, and that's when I can spread my AAs around them. So the way kind of like the grave spread works is you AA the thing further away from you. So right now this small wolf is next to me, so I click the big wolf, so I'm hitting both of them, right? And you kind of like want to create this scenario where they're kind of like staggered in a way, sense. Actually, I can show you Crux Glare. On Crux, I think it's the best to showcase.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, like, how often do you accidentally miss Krugs when you're trying to fade away the camp? the small ones. I feel like I end up dropping like 2 of them pretty often.
Yeah, so there's a trick actually I learned from a speed clearer recently. I was watching him speed clear. Oh my god, this is reset. And basically the way he does it on first clear, so let's say you take red into Crux, you're gonna use your Q twice instead of once. So the way you use your Q is you track them here, you kill the big one, and it's gonna Q like this. But instead of queuing the wall, you don't want to queue the wall because then you're gonna miss the small ones because they're kind of spawning delayed. So you kind of create distance and then queue like this, and then you're good to go. So basically, this is the line you want to cover because that's the line the fucking small ones are gonna be running, right? So you queue like this, and you're good to go.
Can I show you what I learned on wolves?
Yep. A sec. Alright.
On.
Oh my god, minimap minimap on the left side? Holy. That is illegal.
Bro, my practice tool hotkeys are fucked. Hold on.
No problem.
So the real important question, what skins are the best, Emil?
It's obviously Mafia Craves, then it's Pool Party Craves with the I think it's gonna be the red stripe shirt. After that,
Battle Academia.
no, that's the worst
With
one
the
actually.
blue chroma.
No.
The blue chroma.
The ginger crabs is haram. The ginger crabs is haram.
No, the blue chroma. He's got brown hair.
Okay, well, I kind of fucked it, but
Yeah, I get the idea. That's
Did you-
good. I don't do that actually
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
it saves like 2 seconds on a clear.
Yeah, that's actually the one thing I don't use in my Craves Clay is the like queue on board of the camps. I should probably learn that actually. But you can also do it on, for example, recently I've been starting Raptors a lot actually on Craves with Q start. The way you kind of do that is you kind of start with Q. And then, actually I'm going to try it right now. So I'm just going to go with low HP. On my, I don't know how to do this, but like I don't know if this was old season thing. Yeah, it probably was. Maybe it was possible in the old season, but I'm gonna show the Crux Clay because the Crux Clay shows you how to spread the autos the best, I think. Fuck this red. Okay, so I'm coming to red. I'm coming to Crux. So again, like the way I kind of position myself, I want to be this guy to be close to me and this guy to be a bit further away from me, and then I'm gonna auto the big one. This way I'm spreading the auto. I kind of constantly place myself like this. There I missed my auto actually. But this way I can actually hit the most of them. You kind of have to position yourself in a way. It's a bit like a tricky thing to get used to. For example, here on the small ones. Again, I'm autoing the one further away from me so I can hit both of them. With small crux, you can actually hit all of them at the same time as well. But yeah, that's always the case. For Raptors, I usually just like hack the big one. And that's how I clear it. And if it's like, if everyone is super low, like the small ones, then again, I spread them. Kind of get them close to me, kind of step back, so I can get a bit more distance between me and the camps. And then I can hit most of them, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I always kind of actually step back before I auto, just so I can get the spread. Actually, I think I haven't noticed before, but I do.
Yeah, that's helpful. I don't think I always step back how I should, and then my Krugs clear ends
Yeah.
up getting kind of messed up.
I mean, it's a bit tricky. But like the thing is like kind of try to A8 the one further away from you. That's where you're most likely gonna hit both of them. So for example here again, if I'm positioned like this, I want to hit the big one. That's why I'm gonna spread the out on the small one as well. I'm constantly clicking the one further away from me. And kind of going back a little so I can get this auto spread, right? I'm not really good at it. Actually, that's probably something I should work on myself. But yeah, that's kind of the point.
That makes sense. So how long did it take you before you were really consistent on specifically? So like the reloading EQ one is pretty easy. How long did it take you before you were consistent on like the AAQE where you're not just dashing straight forward?
I don't know. I think I actually learned this trick. I didn't know this was possible. I learned this from a Chinese Viego one trick who actually did this in like a montage. He like possessed the Craves and he he like did the full pellets backwards Q, and I was like, holy shit, you could do that. Then I kind of figured it out, and but it took me a while. It took me a while. I'm still not like I'm still not like completely consistent at it. For example, I'm trying to like go away. Someone's chasing me. I want to go for the backwards QE. I sometimes do this. Like wait, I sometimes still like Q forward. Like that happens, right? I'm not like 100% consistent at it, but the AAQ is a bit tricky. It's the most hard to like kind of get consistent at because it's harder to aim again. So if you kind of want to be like just like want to get the idea down, so use the no pellet one or the animation one, because then it's EQ, which is easier to aim than QE. For example, here I would use QE. It's gonna make me able to do this faster. But like QE forward is easy though. This is not a problem. But redirecting the QE, that is a bit more difficult, right? For example, if I want to hit this wall, it's actually it can be very difficult for me. So this is kind of a bad angle. So yeah, I'm still like messing up. Yeah. So this one is like specifically difficult, yeah. So usually what I would do here is I would go for this one instead. But yeah, the way to kind of get used to this is just like do it while like clearing camps. It's like QE, stuff like this.
So I think sometimes like if you do it a little bit too slow, the Q comes out where you started your E, not where you finished your E. Right? Like how often, or at least that's the problem I have, is like sometimes if I did it a little too slow, like instead of the Q coming out at the end of the E, it comes out at the beginning. Which obviously is suboptimal because then you won't get a wall jam, right?
Yeah, so that's a timing thing. I think you just have to get used to this. That doesn't happen to me at all, but basically I've just like I've learned the timing by heart. So there's like a small delay, I think, when you do this, like AQ. So if you Q too fast, then it's just gonna like you're just gonna E, right? I'm pressing QE here, but it's not sending the Q. So it's like a really small delay here, where like 0.1 seconds, like kind of thing. So I just have to kind of like get the timing to muscle memory, and then it's gonna work, right?
Oh, I have another somewhat unrelated question. So, and maybe this is dumb because maybe there isn't really a way to deal with it, but like one time I frequently find like, and I wouldn't say my greatest mechanics are great or anything, but when my mechanics particularly go to shit is anytime anybody puts some sort of like AA slow on me, like you get withered or exhausted, and then all of a sudden my mechanics all just go to shit.
Yeah, so the reason why that happens is because if you gain a slow, so if someone slows you, your E is gonna be slower. So can we actually spawn a meaningful trake here instead of this one? Can I just keep spawning trakes until...
Oh, there you go. You can get the ocean one.
Oh, yeah.
Is that not this one that slows you?
Yeah. So normally it's like this. When I get slowed, it's slower. Like I'm slowed in my E as well. So this can kind of fuck up your mechanics. I think you can still do the combos. But yeah, it's gonna feel like you are like, I don't know, standing in oil or some shit. not oil.
Yeah, I mean, anytime this happens, like if I get withered by a Nasus or something, and I'm not like ready for it, then it's like I start canceling autos, like our animation cancels or whatever, don't come out right, and
Yeah, but
really
that's like
messy.
that's mostly with specifically with Nasus, because the thing Nasus slow does is it's also gonna steal your attack speed. So that means if you're going for the combo, for example AAQE, the normal timing is like this. Like the actual time would be like a lot slower. Like it's more like this, right? So that's like specific to the Nasus law if someone has frozen heart.
I see.
But other than that, the slows don't actually hurt you. It just makes your ETH slower.
Makes your E slower. Okay, so I was confusing two things because then it's also the attack speed slow.
Yeah,
Is
it's
what's
it's
really
attack
messing
speed
me up.
more likely.
Yeah.
I have something else here actually. Showcase. I don't really save a lot of clips. What happened to this guy? I think I just flashed him. Yeah, but the most basic kind of the bread and butter combo of Graves is just gonna be the Q flash. That's also why I love Flash so much, because especially during the early game, it's a champion who relies on early game snowball, I feel like.
Mhm.
And the best way to achieve that is when you run Flash. That's why I also don't like Coast on Graves. Like, I understand why it's good and why some people prefer it, especially on the Bruiser build. But I think the Flash is just going to enable your snowball a lot better. But yeah. The most important thing actually with Graves is like you need to always look out for the Q bounce. That'd be probably the
Yeah.
most important thing. Let's see.
I should probably Q flash more. I guess I'm like afraid to waste my flash or something. Like if I don't get the kill, then I'm just depressed.
Yeah, that's also important on Graves. Like you have to know your, kind of your limits. Actually, here's a cheeky one. Okay, actually, I'm gonna show you this. I actually sent this clip. Oh, I didn't. Never mind. So after I kill this Twitch here, oh, wait, it already happened. So here I'm kind of diving the guy who's trying to dance behind the turret, right? I don't know what's happening with this replay. Yeah, there's random Twitch as well. But yeah, so this guy's obviously trying to outplay Graves. He's hiding behind the turret. So here I think I go for the EQ. Yeah, so again, like here it's easier for me to aim. I'm not going for the AAQE because it's hard for me to hit this wall. The best I can do is probably like bounce my Q off here, which means I'm not getting the 2 hits. So instead I'm going for EQ so I can get the wall bounce over here instead. Right? Let me show you. So he's like hiding directly behind the turret. This is when the EQ comes really kind of important. Because then I can find both of the Q hits here.
How did you get that last bit of damage? Was that just collector?
It was Collector, and then I think I have the Inferno Soul, yeah. So probably those two.
Okay.
What's crazy about what you've just demonstrated is that people against the Graves are more likely to try and outplay by sitting at the turret. They're not going to expect him to be able to kill. So if
Yeah.
anything, it plays to your hand to be able to know these tricks, because you're going to get more kills from doing this. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like
Never
most
seen a
people.
Graves do that in any of my games.
Yeah, and then most people don't, dude. Like that's the issue. Like that's the issue I have with Graves players. Like I was sad watching Worlds season 12 because it was Graves meta, and people basically all the junglers were playing Graves without actually playing the champion. But the thing is that like NA and EU, most of the EU and NA players, they actually didn't know any of the animation cancels. But the Korean and Chinese players, they were always doing them.
I mean, Graves feels really clunky to play if you don't do any of them. It actually
Yeah,
feels
exactly.
pretty awful.
Especially in the early game.
Yeah.
This is another EQ. And basically, especially when you get Servildas, you can kind of go for the max range EQ because the slow you're getting from your Servildas, and if you pair it with W, they're just going to get caught in it, right?
Oh, okay. So I actually have some more questions after watching this clip that aren't strictly mechanics related. Okay, so when I build lethality graves, I don't build it like this. I usually go, it's either Duskblade or Ghostblade, and probably not Duskblade anymore because of the nerf, but Ghostblade Collector, and then I usually go Black Cleaver, and then after that, I usually go LDR or Mortal. I almost never build Grudge though. On lethality, like when are you thinking of building Grudge?
I build Grudge pretty much every game. And
okay.
on lethality build, I do prioritize it over Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver is really good on Graves because auto attack actually applies 4 of the stacks.
The 4 or 6 if you crit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, and also you get all of the stats you want. You get HP, you get
Yeah.
attack damage, you get haste, a lot of haste, movement speed with the passive. Like it's so good item. But with lethality crabs, I do usually go for the Serildas first because it's gonna give me more straight up damage, right?
Well, and it has a better build path. I think something I run into a lot on like when I'm playing lethality graves is you get your collector and then you're like snowballing and then you're like you have nothing for like 3100 gold or whatever, or 3300 gold, because it's like the call fields doesn't matter.
Yep.
Right, whereas if you build a grudge, you get like Last Whisper is actually really meaningful.
Yeah, that's
Right.
just really strong.
So I have a question actually. Why would you go grudge over LDR?
Because of the slow and I get haste,
Mhm.
I don't really want the crit. Like if I was playing crit crabs, then I would go for LDR, yes. But I'm
Also,
not
isn't
actually playing crit
LDR
crabs.
mostly for like people that building HP? So if they're not building HP, Sir Elders should always win out, no?
Yeah, but
Yes.
especially with this build, like they're gonna have more HP than you. There's gonna be a lot of there's a lot of HP in the game, especially on like mages and bruisers.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, I
So-
usually almost always like to have the Black Cleaver again because it's so strong on graves.
Mhm.
But if there is like, so let's say there's like a comp with like, let's say Choke at top, Zac jungle, I don't know what else. There would be another HP stacker. I don't know, like
Vladimir
Sen,
or
like
something.
yeah, Vladimir, like Senna with the HP stacking item. I can't remember the name of it. And like
Seal.
then yeah, Aldi obviously gets a lot of value, and also Cut Down gets a lot of value with Kraus.
Okay.
But for example, this game, if you look at that team, they are not really that heavy in HP to begin with. And the reason why I usually also don't like LDR is because my goal on Kravis is to snowball the game. Like if I'm not snowballing the Kravis, it's not that likely that I'm gonna win the game to begin with.
Mhm.
So usually when I finish my third item, which is Serildas, the enemy team probably doesn't have their second item yet, right? That's kind of the goal on Kravis. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why also LDR I don't like it too much, because if I'm playing like as I should have the item before anyone even has HP, right?
Yeah.
But LDR
Yeah,
is
that's
good.
fair.
But I do like the Serildas specifically because the stats it gives me are more useful on me. Also, the slow is so good for catching people, right?
Mm.
The slow is so good for catching people. Also, your ult is gonna hit like a truck, and your ult is gonna slow. So usually, what I find myself doing in like kind of like late game team fights. So let's say because I have like 20-second ult cooldown, right? So what I do is there's a lot of people stacking in mid. I just ult them for fun, right? Because that's gonna chunk them a bit. Obviously, if they have like Soraka or something, it doesn't really apply. Let's say there's like people here, like everyone is stacking for Baron. Like Baron is about to get taken. Like Baron is spawning. So if I have Serildas, I just ult here. My ult cooldown is like 20 seconds at that point. I'm just gonna create some chunk because my ult is actually not that good of an ability, right? And also it's like late game level 16, it's really low cooldown. It's like 20-30 seconds with the build I'm going for with a lot of haste, like 100 haste. Also, as what comes for the Duskblade versus Yumu's conversation, I still like Duskblade more, but that's preference, I think. I haven't tested the builds yet.
Mm.
I don't know which
I
one
guess-
is more damage. I guess it has to be
Yomu's has a
Yumu's.
higher win rate. Just pointing that out there.
It's
Okay.
not always an indicator.
I know. I'm just saying Yomu's is
yeah.
better, IMO.
I also think that Duskblade, like you have to get value out of. Like it takes more effort to get value out of. Like you know have to play like in a certain way.
Yeah. The
You just
thing I like,
exist on
yeah,
Duskblade.
yeah, exactly. Like the thing I really like about Duskblade is I can go for like a pick immediately. Like I can go for risky stuff. Like I can QE into team, so I can one shot someone and I get Duskblade, right? And then I can kind of chill inside the
True.
enemy team and just wait for my cooldowns. Like that's the thing I really like about Duskblade. It gives me kind of like security.
Emil, I've been running Yomu's Blue Smite with boots from Inspiration,
Mhm.
and the amount of like move speed you have around the map is actually insane.
Yeah, it is. Like it's yeah. It used to
And
be
I
a build at
think-
some point on Crives. I think it was like season 10 or 11.
I think that is like it's really hard to put value on, but like being able to be where you need to be at all times is like
Yep.
kind of OP, you know.
Yeah, it is. It is really strong. Like that's
While
also a
keeping
reason
up on
why.
farm.
Yeah, that's also why kind of the reason why I hate playing against Nunus and Heckrooms, because they see a gank happening, and when they are blue and I'm like ganking this, they just run here. They don't even care. They just run here. They're here in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same idea as with like high movement speed graves. But yeah,
Do you ever go like the Trinity Force Bruiser build?
I have won it a few times, I think, in like my last few games, but I don't really like it. Like, I had the idea that I'm not able to build Dirk, first of all, and building Dirk without actually building an item out of it, I think is really, really, really fucking bad as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yo, how did you get rid of your the bottom of your screen, your taskbar? How is it
Oh,
like transparent?
it's a application called Taskbar X.
Taskbar X, I bet.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. So now I can have a cool looking
It
desktop.
looks like iMac or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I think like the new Windows, is it Windows 13 or 12? It like has this feature built in it.
The newest one's 11.
Yeah, 11?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Holy shit! I was living in the future. But yeah,
Okay.
that one
Thank
also
you.
has it like by default. But yeah, Taskbar X is nice. I actually get asked about that a lot.
Oh, the one you do Trinity Force thing?
Oh yeah, Trinity Force.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
played
you
it a
mean the
few
taskbar
times.
thing you get asked about a lot.
Oh yeah, not the Trinity Force so much.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh, for example, here I want to go for Trinity Force because there were so many melee champions, right? Like, it is still good. I don't like it though. The reason why I don't like the Trinity Force build is because it feels so shit like the first items, and the components feel so
Mhm.
bad, right?
It's
Also, like a
well, it's
huge
also
issue.
less fun.
Yeah, it's less fun. Also, like a huge
Isn't
issue for me is actually when I'm like in shop and I need to type Trinity Force because it's not recommended here. So I need to go and like.
It is annoying,
I
yeah.
thought Bruiser Graves was with Gore Drinker, or is that
Uh,
Not anymore.
yeah, I
not
don't know what
anymore?
happened to Gotrink. I did like Gotrink, but I've always been a Lethality fan, actually.
I
I,
remember giving Gore Drinker a go and popping off with it. It's like I'm unkillable. Like
yeah,
they can't do anything against me.
yeah, Gotrink is really fun. So the kind of the thing with Gotrink is that in order for you to like, so every time kind of like assassin players can go Bruiser build, they become unkillable, right? But the thing is that it's harder to snowball when you're building Bruiser because you are not getting as much damage. But if you are snowballing and you're playing Bruiser Graves, you're basically immortal and you still one-shot everyone. That's kind of the strong suit of going for these Bruiser builds on Graves and like Talon and stuff like that. But the issue is that it's harder to like get into the position where you can actually 1v9 the game, right? Because you are
So
not dealing as much damage.
maybe if you've got like 2 kills from early game, then you're like, all right, screw it, go Bruiser and become unkillable.
Um, yeah, you can do that. But most of the time, like last season, I was playing a lot of both of the builds. Mostly Bruiser. But the games where I wouldn't go Bruiser were games where there was like maybe one melee champion or two. If there's 3 or more melee champions, Bruiser is really good. And also Bruiser is really, really strong against assassins. Because most of the assassins, they have to come close to you, so you get automatically value of the God Drinker. And the other thing is, it's going to be a lot harder for them to kill you because you get more HP, right? But against mages, against ADCs, God Drinker is always shit, right? And God
Yeah, I
Drinker,
usually
and by
go
God Drinker I also
the
mean Trinity Force, of course. It's kind of the new God Drinker.
it has more damage, I think the Trinity Force build does, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah. It does less
But
survivability, but more
you're
damage.
less unkillable. Yeah.
Yeah, you're less unkillable. But also you get attack speed, which is really nice on Kraves.
And you get MS, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, MS as well, yeah.
I miss the old glass cannon crit Graves.
Yeah, actually I had a lot
The
of fun
attack
with crit
speed
traps.
boots, like,
Yeah, Berserker
oh my
Crease, Phantom
God.
Dancer. Yeah, those.
Yeah, oh god, take me back. You just double auto someone and they just instantly explode.
Yep.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. I can't remember when it was like Cyan meta. But back
was
in
like
Cyan
the-
meta, I used to play like, I don't know which item. I think it was Eclipse, LDR, IE. It was so fucking fun. Yeah, it was before the
It was
rebuild
like
patch.
season 11 or 12.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Season 11. Yeah, before the rebuild the patch.
I was spamming Graves back then.
Yep.
Sorry, can I ask you something, Emil?
Yep.
So what's the go-to build now? Is it Dustblade,
Uh,
Blackclear?
the go-to build for me is it's gonna be Duskblade. So basically, the way I build
Okay.
is, but you can switch this to Yumus. It's kind of preference between players. Duskblade or Yumus. I do like Duskblade myself. I also do like Red Smite. I also like Blue Smite. I don't like Green Smite. And what I usually go from here, if I'm snowballing, if I'm strong, if I'm ahead, I usually go for Collector. If I'm not ahead, like if I'm behind, I usually go Black Cleaver instead.
Okay.
And then I
Okay.
would go Sevrildas. Then you can kind of build whatever the fuck you want, basically. Graves has so many items. So at this point, you can usually kind of go... Where can I get more gold? At this point, when you have these 3 items, these are kind of the core items you want. If you're building Collector, then you need 4 items, because the Black Cleaver Sevrildas is kind of a must-have combo in this season. And on Graves specifically. What you can do after this is usually go for either Stebrax, or I go for Maw. I do like Maw a lot. So if I have Maw, this is usually against like champions like Evelyn specifically. Evelyn, I would say probably Victor. But if it's like a burst mage, or generally against mages who struggle against like killing high HP targets, I usually go Stebrax instead. So let's say their only AP is like Lysandra, or actually against Lysandra I would probably go Maw. But Stebrax is still good even into AP, because AP champions usually struggle with killing high HP targets, right? They are
Yeah.
not that good at it. So if their AP threat is not too large, like it's not gonna one-shot you, you can go Stebrax here. And after that, I do like Bloodthirster. Bloodthirster is a really strong last item on Graves. Because of the lifesteal. Like late game, the lifesteal is so good. Like you get chunked in mid by the Victor, you just go to your camps and you're full HP again. Also, every single bit of your AA is gonna heal you for so much. Yep.
Speaking of BT, I was actually about to ask.
Thank you, Emil.
Do you ever like? Is there ever a decision tree for you to think about with respect to like BT versus shield bow?
Shield bow?
Well, you wouldn't build shield bow, right? Because you're gonna
Well,
go
you
either
can't-
Starax or you would
You can't if you
go
have
Maw.
Starax or Maw. But like, if you don't have
Ah.
Starax or Maw, I've sometimes thought about doing shield bow, just defensively if I wanted the lifesteal and the shield. But I
mean,
guess
ADC
I tend to build a little bit differently though. Like I don't
I
usually,
actually
like,
haven't
if I do
tested
this,
it.
like a-
I
I guess
actually
they usually
as a
done
do
player,
the-
my opinions on shield bow is that it's really not that good of an item.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well.
It really it feels like Starax would make you much beefier, much more anti-burst,
Oh,
and more
yeah,
obviously if it's an AP threat. Like this, I would never do it.
I kind of agree. The only reason that like it comes up in my so like typically I build Yomu's Ghostblade, and then Black Cleaver, and then it's usually Mortal or LDR, and then I'm thinking about like maybe building a defensive item or just building BT, right? But like at that point I haven't gotten Starax or Maw in my build yet, right?
On
And so then
ADCs,
sometimes it's like, well, maybe we'll just chuck Shield Bow in there.
on ADCs, it's like a 4th or a 5th item choice, and you only get it if you really need it. Like it's.
Oh yeah, no,
I
I mean
personally
I'm
think the
usually
item's
building it.
trash.
I'm usually building it 4th or 5th if I build it, but I don't build it that often. I'd say maybe once in every like 20 games, maybe it comes up.
Oh, also, if you guys are wondering about what to build against high AD, I usually just build Sterox with plated steel caps, and that's enough. Because your E is gonna give you so much armor. Especially late game, it's gonna be constantly off cooldown. You can just kind of E forward. I E twice, and I have 200 armor. So in the past, people used to build stuff like Frozen Heart. I think Randu is still
Randuin's.
Randu is still a good choice. I don't like GA, but in some games GA is good. Like if the enemy is really like all in or nothing kind of team, right? So they have like really strong immediate engage, but after that they don't have really the consistent damage. I think Guardian Angel can be really good. And one thing I do like about Guardian Angel is a stopwatch for the Baron fight, right? Like kind of the 30-minute Baron fight, I can grab the stopwatch and then I can build it into
GA.
Yeah, GA. But GA generally is not that good. Especially if you finish it like before the last fight, it's not good at all, right? Because it's gonna have 5-minute cooldown, you're probably not gonna get it back.
So I feel like Graves it usually feels pretty good into like heavy AD comps.
Yep.
What about like heavy AP comp? Like, do you find that Ma is good enough, or are you like, well, Ma and Mercs, right? But
Yeah,
or do
that's
you
what I'm
find
building.
yourself like building a Fawn or a Spirit Visage or
No, no,
something?
no. If they're full AP, I guess you could go for something like this, and then you would go here for like Force of Nature, I guess.
Okay, yeah, this is what I do sometimes if they're like all AP
Yeah,
or
if they're like
saltu, like
actually
Mercs
like all
Ma,
AP, yeah, exactly.
and then we'll go like 6th item Fawn or
Yep, this
Spirit
is fine.
Visage if we have an enchanter.
Because like these 3 items are all you need for damage. Your Mythic and Severilus and Black Cleaver. That's your damage. You don't really need damage after that. Like all the damage after that is just like bonus. You don't really need it. At this point, you can already like pretty much one-shot any ADC in the game with your full combo, right?
Yeah.
At any point of the game.
Oh, one other build question. So like if you int, or I assume you probably don't int as often as I do.
I do int a lot actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes if I int early and like it's not looking good, then I just like say F it and then just say, okay, we're building Bruiser now. I'm like the snowball is dead.
Yeah. So as I explained earlier, I think like at that point you're better off actually going for the lethality than going for the bruiser.
I see. So you're better off just like trying to get back in it with damage
Yeah,
anyways.
because like the thing with
Okay.
bruiser is again like if you're ahead, you can still one-shot everyone, right? Like yeah, that's awesome. But the thing is like it's a lot harder for you to one-shot everyone when you are not ahead, and you just don't have the raw stats to do it. And when you actually go for the damage builds or lethality and stuff like that, you get more raw damage. So it's easier for you to deal damage and not be useless. So for example, let's say you go for the Trinity build and you're 0-3, you're kind of a minion, right?
Yeah.
But if you go 0-3 and you go for the lethality, and you go for the Black Cleaver, not the Black Cleaver, you go for the Duskblade and Collector, you are still dealing damage. Even if all the damage you can do is like QE and ult, there's still a chance that you can kill an ADC, you can kill pick up a squishy, stuff like that. You can create meaningful poke. But if you're not the head on bruiser build, the moment you go in, you're just dead because you don't have enough stats to actually sustain yourself in the fight, right? That's the kind of idea. But kind of regardless,
Okay,
like whichever build you're going for, you kind of have to snowball on Kraves. That's kind of the issue with the champion. Like he doesn't do well when he's behind in gold. He's actually one of the
definitely not,
worst
yeah.
performing champions when it comes to being behind in gold. I think it was like there was some data behind with it, and I think it was even with Kindred.
Yeah, I mean, I think my League of Graphs says that I'm like plus 26% win rate if I'm like 2-0 or 3-0 at 10 minutes.
Yep.
So, like that, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, because like
that's like a great
yeah,
state.
that's the reason why Kraves is so like popular champion like across all the years. Is like when you get ahead, it's really hard for the enemy to kind of get back into the game because you can do so much. You can clear the camp so fast because you're ranged, and when you get gold, like this champion scales a lot with gold instead of XP, right? So instead of being a sack player, you just like kind of get so much gold that you can just kind of bully everyone off the map and just kill everyone and take whatever you want and jump over walls. Like jumping over walls is so big for doing stuff.
Yeah.
In this game, especially when it comes to like funneling resources into yourself. Like Graves is the best champion for funneling resources. You one-shot the wave. I guess it's kind of shared between like Kartus. But yeah, the point is like he's really good at like when he gets ahead, he's really good at getting even more ahead. That's kind of the thing with this champion. Yep. That's why you also want to get ahead.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the goal, but you know, like I definitely also int sometimes, you know. It's so how often do you do that, like what you just did, where you like flash through and then like just leave the other way?
I like old flash.
Yeah.
If I really want to show off and I'm playing norms.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Back when it was Cleaver, not Cleaver, Prowlers last season, I had a lot of fucking cool combos, but unfortunately I can't do them anymore. I was a Prowlers enjoyer. There's a lot of cool stuff you were used to able to do with Prowlers. But yeah, this is like a pure show off. Like it's just like I don't know. Like this is something I just do in practice though, pretty much.
Do you use any combos while clearing your camps?
I do. Like I basically every time I use a Q, it's almost every time a combo. Unless it's like first clear, then I'm more like bound to using certain abilities at certain time, right? It doesn't really make my clear faster, but like the thing is like I'm still doing the thing which I used to do, which is like just like getting used to the combos. For example, even with Drake, I'm doing stuff like this, right? The only I guess the only part where I do use like an animation cancel is when I'm doing Baron. Let's actually get my cooldowns down. So I'm doing Baron, I can do stuff like this, and then I just wait for my E. Then and sometimes like my Q and E is gonna overlap, and then I can go for like an animation cancel. But like besides that, it doesn't do like much at all for Kraves in terms of clear speed. But like the thing is like if people want to get used to these combos, they should like use it all the time when they're clearing. Like just every time. Even on the Scuttle, it's like do AIQ, stuff like that.
Do you
This I
think
get used to them.
Do you think being good at these combos like is necessary to be good at Graves?
No. For example, Darzand is a pretty good example. He like actually refuses to use any of the combos for Kraves. If you watch his gameplay, he just doesn't use them. So like end of the day, it's like or like it's kind of the same situation as I think with like builds. And like if you look at someone like Kenyan and you look at his builds don't make sense. He's not building the meta stuff, but he's still rank 1. Why is he rank 1? Because he's good despite like kind of being handicapped, right? It's kind of the same thing with Kraves. Like it's not required to be like to be rank 1, but it's gonna make it a lot easier, right? That's the kind of the thing. But I think like for the most part, people are just not aware of the combos existing to begin with, and that's why they don't use them.
What's your opinion on Tobias Fate's W Max
God.
with Comet build on Graves?
I don't want to comment on that one.
Oh, actually, speaking of W, do you have any notes on like skirmishing, team fighting, and then also W usage?
Yep. Yeah. Let me think. So for the early game, how I usually use my W, obviously for skirmishes. So let's say there's a skirmish going on here. Then I have like 2 friends over here. Can I add friends? With my friends. I have 2 friends. They're fighting like this. So let's say this is the ADC, right? This is like an Alistar. So what I always want to do is I want to W like this. So I don't W like this unless I'm expecting this guy to chase. But the moment I show, I'm expecting the enemy ADC to start running. So I want to W like where they are going to go. Because that's going to ensure that I'm going to get the most value out of the W as possible, right? Another thing is that how you can use W is just when you're like trying to catch people. For example here, let's say I'm trying to catch this guy. This is like I'm like ganking this lane. So what I would usually do is I would just W this so I can get this low and I can get close. This is specifically for early game, because later on in the game you really have to kind of like save the W. For example here, I can actually show you. Is my game gonna pause? There was like something. You're close to the maximum total practice tool game length. Oh wow, there's a maximum.
So before you show the mid game thing, early game when you W somebody for the slow, like, do you typically wait to W before like until you're in auto range, or do you W like just max range it?
Oh wait, what's happening? So let's say this gag scenario again, right? I do usually go for the almost max range W. It kind of depends. So what I'm usually doing is when I show up, they see me. That's when they're gonna react, right? So I'm looking for the reaction first. Is this guy chasing my team? Is he backing away? And then I throw my W. But usually by that time, I'm not always max range, right? I'm kind of like almost max
I
range.
see.
And then I react to what they're gonna do, and then I like kind of like predict the W where they're gonna go.
Okay.
Another thing you can
Yeah,
do
'cause-
is
No, I was gonna say I think at least when I've reviewed my W usage, I find sometimes like I W them and I get the slow, but then by the time I'm in distance to auto attack them, they're out of the W, so it's like very little value.
yeah. So
Right.
it's kind of like
But
yep. Does anyone have a question? Okay. So yeah. So it's kind of tricky. It's super situation specific. Like it's situational. But yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. Like if this guy is really low HP, he's kind of trying to AA my guy to death. I just W him max range so I can kind of deny the AA, and then I can just get close and AA them to death. But if it's like more so like a full HP skirmish in the early game, I usually kind of want to hold on to my W. Another thing you can kind of use W for is you can smoke someone, so it makes it easier for your teammates to hit their skill shots. So for example, let's say I have Renata or Blitzcrank here. What I can do is I can smoke this guy so they don't see anything, they don't know how to react to the Blitzcrank because they don't see it. That's another thing. This can be used with Lux Q, Xerath E, stuff like that. Like any skill shot, you can smoke them so you can make it easier for your team to hit their skill shot. Renata Q, stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
But late game, you almost always want to have the W up for the ADC, and specifically for the auto attacker, right? There are some scenarios where you can kind of use it to catch people. For example, in this Zero clip from the last game, the game I showed before. Where's this? So for example, here I actually used to catch this person. So here, I was using my W to catch this person to get the kill, right?
Oh, I see.
But here again, like, the Twitch is actually could be a problem here. So if the Twitch was actually a human player instead of going like 0-15, as he did go this game, then I would not use my W because I would need the W for this Twitch to show up. Like it's specifically strong against Twitch. Like I love playing in the Twitch scripts. This actually okay. I played close.
Can confirm I hate playing against Graves' Twitch.
Yeah, it's really strong against him. Another one is I would say Civi, Jinx, Draven actually a good one. All of the ones actually which love to auto attack. Like they just I can tell they are mad by my smoke. Let's see. For example, here, yeah, when I kill this Twitch, so here I wasn't actually holding on to my W, but I knew that Twitch was coming out of base. So for some context, he just spawned here, so he's spawning here. So I know he's coming up here. So I know I can play aggressive here because I know my W will be up by the time Twitch shows up. So Twitch is fucked here. I mean, obviously he just gets one shot anyway. But this guy's not doing well. But even if he didn't get one shot here, I'm just kind of I want to have the W for the Twitch. And here I could go aggro because my W cooldown was so low already.
So at this point in the game, you're usually thinking about saving it for an auto attacker.
Yep. Yeah. Late
okay,
game
cool.
specifically, yeah. Do I have any other Crives games? Maybe. A lot of Crives games.
I also like it for like Syndra and like Nautilus
Yeah.
where
Yeah, and you can do
like, they can't use their targeted abilities on you.
Yeah. You can like if you're really good, you can like make a Mordecai miserable.
Exactly.
Let's see, is there like a 15-minute team fight here? It's a bit skirmishy game, I guess. Because here I'm probably W for the slow. Also, again, like to make sure that the skill shot is gonna hit. Like good supports, they actually wait for the W, right? Because they know that this guy can't see. I don't think this guy actually waited for W, but like good supports do that. Like good Blitzcrank do
so
that.
this actually kind of segues into another question I had. Like, how are you thinking when you approach like a duel or a skirmish with some champion that's just going to be like really annoying and dash around 1,000 times, and making sure that you actually hit your? Is it just like knowing what they're going to do and anticipating it, or like I have a problem sometimes with like champions who like will dash behind me, and then obviously I look real dumb because my Q isn't going to hit anymore.
Oh yeah, like Zed and stuff.
Yeah. Or even like Aurelia or stuff like that.
Yeah, you kind of do predict them. I think I have a really good. I posted a really good. I posted a good clip. It was some time ago. It was last season. I posted a really good clip against the Z actually. But yeah, you basically have to kind of predict them, and you kind of read their movement. Like again, you kind of read their reaction, what they're doing. If this guy queuing on the minions, I can try to find the queue while they're queuing the minions, stuff like that. Let me see if I can actually find the clip. It's somewhere.
If you let Aurelia jump on you and then you W yourself and E away, she's kind of screwed. And if you W Zed's ult Shadow and he goes back, he's screwed.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
No, I don't know what that clip is. It was so good. I like outplayed the shit out of this one set.
And for Katarina, if you W while she's in ult, she can't E to her
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
daggers.
that's a
Oh,
pretty
I
good
didn't
one
know
with
about
Katarina.
that.
Yeah, because she can
That's
see the
hilarious.
daggers.
Yeah, so the only thing she has to do is flash out of your ult.
Yep.
Or
Or
flash
walk
out of your
out.
W.
Yeah, or flash it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, here I found it.
Or
I
asset
think.
ult. Sorry.
Wait, no, it's not. There's a kindred click.
Yeah, I feel like I win most of my duels on Graves, but it's like if I get outplayed, it's usually by some champion like that that's like just really mobile and makes me miss my Q and my R.
Oh, here actually I found it.
What is this skin?
It's a custom skin. It's Star Guardian Crabs.
Oh, what?
So it's just like reading his options and what he's doing. So basically,
Yeah.
it's just like kind of predicting. The Q was lucky that I hit the Q. Like he just jumped into the Q too.
That skin's got nothing on Minecraft, Gregor.
But I guess the thought process here is I smoke because I know he's gonna be on top of me. So I smoke on top of me, immediately away to make it harder for him to hit the shurikens, which he usually wants to hit immediately after leaving ult, right?
Yep.
And then he has two options. So he can either go back to his ult, which he can't do yet because it's on a cooldown, I think. I'm not sure actually. Is it on cooldown?
No, he can do it instantly. pretty
Oh,
much.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can do it instantly, but he can do it almost instantly. That's why you W before you ult. I think. But
Well,
anyway,
you W before you ult, so you've got 3 shuriken, you got 3 shadows in like
Oh, yeah,
a
immediately.
small area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but you can't like. Okay, so if you do like flash ult on Z, you can get CC'd. But if you do W flash ult, you go W back, which you can do immediately.
Yeah.
There's like a small cooldown at least,
It's,
or
it's
like a
the
delay.
burst
Yeah, I think it's
time. It's like 0.2 seconds.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
it's basically not a thing, but like, it kind of is.
But yeah, basically with like jumpy characters, you kind of have to predict them, and that's about
I
it. But
see.
like champions like Katarina and Irelia, they are really not that hard to read. I feel like Z is probably the hardest to read, and Akali specifically actually, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a really hard time fighting Akali.
Yeah, Akali is really problematic for
Uh,
Kraves. She's really problematic. Usually you want to just get sweeper and like using the W and try to get the Q. That's pretty
yeah.
much it.
Oh, actually, speaking of champion specific things, how in the world do you play Graves into Nefiri?
It's annoying. I don't know. I haven't faced that many Nafirius, but every time I have, it's been annoying. Yeah. So
Okay, yeah,
I don't
because
know.
like every time I
I
just die,
can't
'cause she like her dogs block everything, and then you just cry.
Yeah. She can't block the key though. So the thing with Nafiri is that she's really predictable. So you can kind of predict the key, right? That's the good
Yeah.
thing about it.
So you just try to dodge the Q then?
I mean, I'm also trying to hit my own Q, right?
Oh, I see.
But yeah,
Not
you
dodge
should
her
try to
Q.
dodge the Q, yeah. Also, another really important thing as scribes is actually going into brushes, especially when you're reloading. Actually, it's pretty visible in this club here. So I get my reload, so I immediately go to the brush because I can't DPS anyway. So if I go to the brush, they can't hit me either. And unless I'm hitting from the brush, they actually cannot see me. Alright? So brushes are really your friend on crabs, especially when you start reloading.
Mm,
You're obviously still
yeah,
bad.
I don't do that enough.
Yeah, it's definitely something you should do. I don't think I have. Do I have any good like team fight games? I would like to show a team fight.
Yeah, that's another thing I feel like I mess up a lot is you know, even if I have a good early game, it's really easy to just like randomly throw because I botched a
Yeah, but that's
like a
not.
team fight or something.
Yeah, but that's less a Cribs thing and more so a League of Legends thing, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean everyone can throw the games. I don't know. I don't think this is gonna be a team fight either. Man, none of my games end in team fights actually.
I think that's a good thing or a good sign on Graves.
Yeah, it is. Basically, kind of like my main goal on Graves is I want to be as strong as possible at 20 minutes, and then I take Baron and the game. That's kind of my like basic like the ultimate game plan is to have 3 items at 20 minutes, and then it's pretty easy for me to end the game from that point. Something for the other.
So in terms of game time, you're looking for like a 25-minute game.
Yep.
Is like a good game.
Graves'
Oh,
main
oh.
goal is to blow up and then act
Act
like
like
you don't
I
know
don't know
nobody.
nobody. That's right. What's this game? I don't have it anymore.
Is this a meme I'm missing? I feel like.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
is.
is.
It is.
It is.
It's like a classic. I think it was like a Vine or something.
Yeah, it was a Vine, I think. It's ancient at this point. So don't blame me for not knowing it. I have any good games.
I am old man.
How ping reliant do you think Graves is as a champion? Because I play on NA with 120 ping because I'm mentally ill, and my duo partner is there. And I'm used to like playing these really mechanically skilled champions known as Draven, but I feel like the auto attack resets kind of fuck me up on Graves because of the high ping. So like, should I even bother with that, or is it like playable at all?
I don't really know because I've never played with high ping, but I don't think he's like that ping reliant. Like you don't need like 9 ms. And the thing is like, you can still play Graves and like not go for all the mechanics kind of stuff, like mechanics max. But I think the champion just fits the playstyle of mechanics maxing a lot, which is why I would say it's kind of important. But on the other hand, I don't know. Like there are definitely options or champions which are better at playing at high ping than Graves. Basically,
Okay.
that would be my final PC answer.
Just play
Okay.
Maokai.
Bro, no.
Yeah,
I will
let's
not.
play Maokai Zac, maybe Warwick. I don't know.
Yeah, let me just turn my brain off for 30 minutes.
Just
for
play
sure.
Rammus.
No,
Okay.
man.